case, right? And my girls are young, really young. So I go forward 5 years, and you must be seeing it now. Your kids have access to they're more connected now than we ever were.
Yeah, and you can't
we used to
slow
have to
that
bloody
down.
ring each other on a landline, which, mate, then you have to run the gauntlet of what parent's going to be there, and you sit around the corner with your parent listening to every single thing that you say.
Yeah.
Even worse when you're trying to tune chicks. Right? Terrible, right? Terrible when you're trying to tune chicks, and everyone did that from our era. And now it's on their watches, it's on their phones. They could be communicating with, a fucking pedophile for all I fucking know.
Yep.
And we don't know.
Yep.
And these people that groom these kids, they're very clever.
Mm-hmm.
They're not silly at what they do.
Yep.
And as much as I think you and I think we're street smart people.
Mm-hmm.
I think we pick up on things a lot quicker than, probably lucky
average
for
Joe.
me. My kids seem like they're book smart. Good on them.
Yep.
But they might not pick up on it as quick as someone that realises, hang on, they're the not sort of questions you should be asking. I mean, it happens all the time. It's happening every day.
Every day.
How do you think that stops?
Well, okay, so I can only tell you about the kind of principles that I adopt in my home.
Yeah, I want to hear those.
So my son he's like an encyclopedia. So the other day, my 9-year-old daughter comes up to me and she asks me, how does lightning get made? I'm like, well, it's in the clouds.
Yeah.
She's like,
Wrong,
she's
Dad.
like, yeah, I don't get it. And I'm like, yeah, look, I don't get it either. It's a really good question. Go ask your brother.
Yeah.
Because he's a 15-year-old literally an encyclopedia. Like, there's almost nothing you can't ask him about trivia or fact that he doesn't know. And the reason he knows that stuff is because he spends time on YouTube and he spends time online researching interesting stuff of all different kinds of nature. Yeah. Now, I never want to stop that, because that's given him an ability to kind of soak in all that knowledge in a way that in our generation we could never, no matter how smart we were as kids, not that you and me were very smart as kids, but talking about even the smart ones, I mean, today's a different ball game. So I never want to curb that. I want to give him the opportunity to be able to do whatever he wants to do and thinks is right. And so for that reason, I don't install software that restricts what he can do. I mean, aside from porn and all that kind of stuff, which if they're smart enough, they can get around anyway. Yeah. But the idea is...
Is there porn on the internet?
Well, some areas of the internet, John Paul,
okay.
you probably don't need to worry about that. So the thing that I want to encourage in them long before they become 18 and they can make their own decisions in life, is to be armed with the ability to make their own decisions and to make valued judgments about things. So rather than controlling what they do, it's teaching them to think for themselves and think, is this good for me? Is this good for other people? Is this going to affect me in a negative or a positive way? And is it going to affect anybody else in a negative and positive way? If we can teach them that train of thought and teach them at a young age to make that kind of a decision, which is a difficult decision for a young person to understand and to make, especially because there's so many outside influences that want you to think a certain way so that somebody else can make money out of it.
Yeah.
That's the complication. Now, if we can get that train of thought in, that's the first thing. The second thing is never assume that because we're giving them that train of thought that they are going to be able to make all the right decisions, because things are going to come up, which is going to pique their interest, which can take them down a dark hole involuntarily. So the rule that I have in my house is no screens in bedrooms.
Yep.
Right? And at a certain point when they transition from teenage to adulthood, that will become a different situation, which is at the point where you want them to be able to make their own decisions as clearly as they possibly can. But especially at a very, very young age, like no screens in rooms for me is an absolute must.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to see at all times, at spot check moments, without acting like you're looking over their shoulder 24/7.
Yeah.
And let them feel comfortable about what they're viewing in our presence. That's really, for me, that's a big one.
All right, that is great advice. No screen in room. Pretty simple.
It's pretty simple.
Because it's very easy for them to just go down the rabbit hole. I see it just on the YouTube, and they end up looking at some weird stuff.
Yep.
And they're just pressing the next thing. So,
Yep.
so I can understand that. That's a great piece of
And
advice.
so just in line with that, the one thing that has really worked well for us in our house is, when it comes to close to bedtime or, sort of 7 to 8 o'clock at night, all screens go in a drawer, including phones, and that drawer gets locked and it gets opened the next day
So
when they need those devices back.